Okay, it's 4 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the Fire District Board meeting of March 15th. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation under
and
God, indivisible, with
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Chris, would you call the roll, please? Chris, would you call the roll, please? Can you hear me?
There we go. Sorry, I was muted. Aldrich.
Yes, here.
Beckman.
Oh, do I have to say location or is that just a township? No, okay.
Beckman.
Here.
Fox. I think you might be muted too.
I'm working on it. Yeah.
There you go. Verplank.
Here.
Phelps.
Yes.
Miller.
Here.
And Pullen.
Here.
All are present.
Okay, thank you. Would you please mute your cell phones and please don't text during the meeting. That's against the Open Meetings Act. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda this afternoon?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda of March 15th, 2021.
This is Aldrich, I'll support.
I have a motion by Pullen and support by Aldrich. Or we need a roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Pullen.
Yes,
Aldrich.
Yes,
Beckman.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
Phelps.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
All
Okay,
approved, ma'am.
moving on, can we have approval of the February 15th minutes? Are there any corrections to those minutes, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 15th as it stands.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Fox. Is there any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Aldrich.
yes,
Verplank.
Yes.
Pullen.
yes,
And Miller.
Yes.
Passes 7-0, ma'am.
Thank you. Moving on, we have public comment of agenda items only. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. You can use the raise hand button or just speak up or wave your hand. Do we have any public comment? Chris, do you see anything?
Not at this time, ma'am. Nobody appears to be raising their hand in any form.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, requests for payments. Could I have a motion to approve the accounts payable, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable of $156,724.42.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Pullen. Is there any discussion? Any questions for Peter? Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Phelps.
Yes.
Pullen.
Yes,
Aldrich.
yes,
Beckman.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Passes 7-0, ma'am.
Thank you. Moving on, can we have a financial report, Peter?
Hello, yes. Okay, so the financial report, we're almost 75% through our fiscal year 21. And the revenue side, we've collected just shy of 94% of our projected revenues, and I'm sure we'll get to our 100%. We got a few more dollars coming in from the local taxi units. wrap up of the year end of the winter tax bills. And then the expense side, overall, we're at 74% of what was budgeted, original budget for expenses. There's a few line items that are somewhat just a little bit over what was budgeted. And then hopefully myself, the deputy chief, and the chief will get together here sometime before the next board meeting. We'll present in April or maybe May a budget adjustment that'll carry us through the end of the fiscal year. So I don't know, does anybody have any particular line item questions? Or I'll also let you know, we made the last payment on the KME truck, so that's paid in full. So hopefully we'll get some paperwork back from Chemical / TCF / Huntington Bank, whatever their name is, this meeting, for the note's been satisfied and that truck is paid for.
Peter,
Yes.
I don't want to get into the gory details, but is the most significantly over budget related to professional services related?
I was just gonna ask that.
Well, there's some, let me see, that's over. It says it's $9,600 over, but there's $8,000 that really needs to get moved down to the capital outlay. There was $8,000 worth of that insurance policy that the attorney did with the water main down there where the new dock and where the fire boats are at. So that was an error on my end because it was all billed through the attorney. And I thought it was just all legal fees, but there was like $8,000 of it was really the insurance policy, or Greg would know, the videotaping of the water main. So that's what the majority of that one is from.
That's actually good news then, that we're not dramatically over on legal, correct?
No.
No. So that will be transferred to capital funds?
Yes, that would get, you know, we're going to do a budget adjustment. I'm going to move that down. It's actually it's a long-term capital expense.
Jane, may I add to that?
Go ahead, Greg, please.
Also, I wanted to point out to the board, share with them that, for example, if you take page 10 of your packet, you will see a Fleece and Vandenbrink line item there for 66th Street North Shores. Please keep in mind that engineering reviews go through our fire district engineer, subsequently get billed to the individual property. So those expenses show in there, they're offset with the revenue going into the general fund. So please keep that in mind because there's a number of them in there as far as professional fees for a legal review. More likely they are engineering reviews for projects that are run through appropriately through professional fees.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other questions? Okay, thank you, Peter. Moving on, fire chief comments. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. Pulling up the statistics, just briefly, a summary, we're pretty much comparable with last year. Certainly motor vehicle incidents, there would be a surge because of the weather. So much of our work is predicated by the weather. Had some really interesting things. The fourth bullet point, we had 3 substantial saves. There seemed to be a rash of gas leaks in natural gas versus flammable liquid gas. So we had a number of gas leaks that seemed to run in groups of 3s for some reason. So as you know, the gas company won't go on those unless it's typically outside, or we can request them to come inside, but by the time they get there, the building may be leveled. So we respond to those with a number of instruments that are calibrated. So everything else is pretty much normal. What is not normal is our response times are slower, as you can see, almost a minute slower, certainly because of the cold weather and the snow or the ice being not being allowed to be melted by salt. So pretty much concludes a summary of February 2021. Any questions on those? Okay, moving on. Sadly, there have been 20 deaths since last month in the state of Michigan, fire fatalities. Just one of those things, you know, December, January, and February are big months for fires. And our statistics statewide with the amount of deaths is frightful. So I want to share that with the board. Next on the agenda, you will see a pump repair. 2151 is the number of the aerial platform ladder truck. And we were having problems with the pump engagement. We took it down to Spencer's, our repair facility in South Haven. And sadly, there's some photos that you can see the photo to the right. There's supposed to be splines in there. The photo to the left is a new spline cup. The one to the right, all the splines are worn down, so the pump wouldn't engage. Well, that wasn't the worst part. That was a $4,000 repair. Chris went down, Linus went down. The worst part about this is the whole pump housing is cracked. This is catastrophic, pretty much big time. The truck is 23 years old. From what we can conclude by the manufacturer, Watrous and Spencer's, thank you, Chris, is that pump casing was cracked when we got it. It wasn't in a waterway where it froze. It just was cracked. It was not observed when we purchased the truck. It's way up underneath the body of the truck. So we had to spend $17,300 to have that repaired. That included the $4,000 for the first component that had to be repaired. We don't know when we're going to get the parts. Parts are challenged now with COVID. Everything's delayed. We're hoping to have the truck on the road in 4 weeks, but we can't tell you when it'll be on the road. So both the upper casing of the pump and the lower casing of the pump are cracked. And you can see that's a significant crack. So I don't have anything good to say about it, other than we got a 23-year-old aerial and we're lucky that's all that happened. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on. Thanks, Chris. Chris handled the sale of this, and we sold this boat for
Yes.
$5,000. We sold it to another fire department, so it gets repurposed. That's a good thing. You got a good fair price for this boat. As you know, it was replaced. We do not have 4 boats. Let me say that again. We do not have 4 boats. We have 3 all different purpose boats. We can't get the big boat underneath the bridge to go upriver. We have an ice boat and we have a small reconnaissance boat that replaced this one. So thanks to Chris Mannels for handling that sale. Chris, superb job on that whole thing.
You're welcome.
Next up, I was really happy to share with the board our first clinic at Saugatuck Public Schools. That school facility is capable of a large vaccination point. We could easily put 1,000 through that school. Just some of the people listed on here that helped out with this. Saugatuck Public Schools obviously was the host. They had very short notice, 3 days notice, because that's all the notice we were given on the vaccine. Saugatuck Golf Carts, we reached out to Bill Lester. He didn't blink an eye about loaning us use of a brand new golf cart. You probably see a photo there. That helps with taking some of the elderly people or somebody that has trouble walking so far and moving them from the parking lot to the school. So our hat is tipped to Bill Lester. There's the golf cart, brand new. Did we return that, Chris, or are we keeping that?
I don't remember.
Okay,
I'm gonna plead the fifth.
okay. You can put Chief Janik on the side there. I think that would be nice. Back Alley Pizza,
who always supports public safety in so many community events. We paid for the pizza, they reduced the price 50%. Big compliment to Back Alley. Some of you saw the MDOT message sign on Blue Star Highway out there for several days. That was delivered, compliments of MDOT. And also MDOT allowed us to use their trailer. We have care and custody that allows us to use barricades and cones to set up delineations for the clinic. The sign you have on your screen before you was loaned to us by Grasscup Fire Department. Kind of a collaborative ownership on that, and they delivered it, set it up, programmed it, and they picked it up. So a big thank you to Grasscup Fire as well. 6 on the list, which I forgot to put on here, was the inconvenience to the students parking. Where do they park? And Saugatuck Center of the Arts arranged for the students to park down in their parking lot. This is what this community is about, unselfish giving. And I'll tell you, I'm proud to be part of it because it was a thrill to be in your hometown and host a clinic. And I'm sure this board realizes how critical that is to public health in this nation. So thanks for the.
Hey, wait a minute. I'd like to throw something in here too. I'd like to thank Greg and Vicki Janik, who work 2 days a week at these clinics all day long, 9 to God knows when. Also, David Blatt spends a great deal of time in these clinics. I think he's at almost every one. I know he worked 3 clinics last week and gave vaccines all day long. So those are the ones I know about. There's probably more from the community, but I'd like to give a big thank you to them. Greg donates his time. Vicki also donates her time, and David also donates time. So a big shout out to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
There are
you.
a lot of people that are really supporting they're making appointments at home. I think Garnett's been doing that. Jane staffed that clinic all day long. I think by the time 5 o'clock rolled around, she was ready to go home and sit in the lazy boy. It's you're on your feet quite a bit. Saugatuck Public Schools, having worked each venue, is set up so well. I just can't tell you. Oh yes, Garnett, thanks. Judge Belargian, he's there every Saturday at least as well, checking people in. This whole thing is about volunteerism, and even though public health department people are paid and some other ones are paid, there are a lot of us that aren't paid. So that's a thrilling part about public safety. So thank you. Last I have on the agenda, just want to let you know we are submitting a grant to AAA for some stabilizing struts. We don't have the ability to use struts. We don't own struts, number one. And when we borrow them from the neighboring departments, they can't lift. That is a more expensive proposition. So the competition is very fierce with AAA, and we're going to try. The grant was written, the chief author was Lieutenant Bernhardy, and Chris Mannels and I have reviewed it and approved it for submittal.
Right?
Sure.
I couldn't understand what it was you were specifically talking about. What like, you're coming through muffled on mine.
Oh, I'm
Yeah, a
sorry.
little muffled on mine too.
I'm sorry. Is that any better?
Maybe a little.
No.
But I couldn't understand the word. I couldn't understand the noun. What is it? What is it we were getting or not getting? Or?
The grant is being submitted for stabilization struts.
And what do
If
those
you have
do?
a car on its side, it keeps it from turning over. You've got to stabilize. We do not have any struts.
Got it.
We borrow them from mutual aid. The last time we used struts, and I hope I'm coming in clear, Dan.
Yeah, you are now better.
The last time we used struts was, remember when the drive-in Restaurants took on a new meaning at Calico. We could not get in the building to shut the engine off to the car because the
Oh.
building was collapsing. We dispatched Glasgow Fire Department, and they brought their struts to shore up the building so we could get in.
Thank you.
How long does it take to find out if you get the grant or don't you know?
Long time with AAA. I think it's almost 8 months.
Oh, really? Okay.
How much are these struts? What do they cost?
I think these are about $12,000 to $14,000.
Wow.
They don't look like much for that much money. Wow.
You know, it doesn't, if it has fire on it or boat or airplane, triple the price.
How much is the grant for? Will it be the whole thing, or is it a matching grant, or?
Good questions for the whole thing. There's no match.
Okay, great.
Let's see the exact
Thank you.
amount.
$12,544.
That's it. I actually reviewed another AAA grant over the weekend. They asked me to review it for submittal from a neighboring department, and that one was for 14,000. So I got them confused. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Moving on to unfinished business. Do we have a wage study update from that committee? Dan and Eric?
And Scott Phelps,
and Scott Phelps.
the update is fairly simple at this point. We've not met as a group. I've tried to keep, although I didn't get to Scott, the others briefed. We're still in the information gathering stage. Chief was very kind to authorize Chris Bernardi to help with this, and Chris is good with Excel. And so he and I have met now twice, and in the process of getting sort of the first cut, the first description of positions, titles, whatever, authorized positions and so forth. As I said, I think Chris Manos we were chatting all together at the time. To me, I said in my limited, but 4 years in the Army experience, including some in command, every Army unit has what they call a table of organization and equipment. And it is a major document listing literally every piece of equipment, every rifle, every whatever that's authorized for that unit. And similarly, every individual, generally by grade and job description or whatever, authorized for that unit. And it simply serves as a base point to understand. Most units add to or subtract from their TOE, but it serves as a way to compare one unit to the next and what have you. Anyway, this is trying to get the base level in this for the district's personnel assets across the board. And so once we get that, then we can begin to lay out. In fact, actually, once we get that, the rest of it is probably fairly simple. Laying out compensation and responsibilities and certifications, some of those already in place. So it should go more quickly, but I've also said to Chris, and I'm sure Chief would say the same thing, this is not Chris's number one, probably not number 2 or number 3 priority. So I've tried to make myself available to review and whatever, and so that's basically where we stand as of this point. And I've not laid any timetable request or anything on Chris. He's a good person who'd get to it when he gets to it, and so far he's been more than responsive. So that's where it stands now. Once that piece, the first piece is in place, maybe the first, second, and third piece is in place, we'll get together, Zoom or otherwise, get the committee together and review and discuss and go from there. Questions, I'm happy.
Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
Any questions for Dan? I don't see any. You see any, Chris?
Negative.
Okay, moving on, we're involved in a lawsuit subpoena wise. Can you give us an update on that, Greg?
Yes, ma'am. Just want to let the board know a week ago, Monday, our attorneys, as represented by our insurance carrier, have submitted all the documents. I think there's almost 5,000 pages of documents that went to the attorney that were subsequently submitted to the plaintiff's attorney last Monday. So we wanted to assure you that that's been complied with, and that's where we're at.
Okay, any questions?
Are we being sued or are we just like,
No, sir, we are not. We have not been notified of the suit. We were just subpoenaed for documents.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to new business. We have a funding approval request from the Tri-Community Recycling Committee. Greg, do you want to start?
Yes, I'm really excited to share this with the board. This is something that I think this department is known for. There's no doubt about it. And I think this is a tremendous project. I'm asking the board to support financially and labor-wise, as far as staffing as care and custodians of the collection site for the day. But it's very clear it's in the best interest of the public to get oil-based paints and solvents out of the homes, out of the landfills, and be recycled where they should be recycled. The area's been void on recycling programs for a lot of reasons, the cost. And I'm asking the board, please to support this household hazardous waste day in the form of, if we could contribute up to $1,000 to support this, because there's a match. And I'll let Garnett chime in here if she would like. My request is, this is something I feel we should be doing from a community risk reduction perspective. And I think it's a tremendous value and investment at $1,000. And I am making some assumptions that neighboring communities, the 3 municipalities, will each contribute money to match the Rotary grant of $5,000. So Garnett, would you like to comment?
Sure. Chief, thanks so much. And I appreciate you including that request in your packet. So I won't repeat for anybody what's included here. Basically, the Tri-Community Recycling Committee's been hard at work since last April. We actually have 3 other members on the phone today on the Zoom call. Barry Johnson, Demetria Tarian, and Rana Alexander have called in. Barry's from the city, Demetria and Rana from the city of Douglas. And then I know Stacy's heard my spiel already, so I won't digress too much. But basically, as the chief said, and Jane will probably remember, the city of Saugatuck used to have a contract for recycling with the county of Allegan up until about July of 2008. And we discontinued that as a city, primarily, as the chief said, because of cost. Since that time, folks have basically been holding on to everything they shouldn't be holding on to in their basements and their garages, waiting, I think, for a way to get rid of this stuff, at least in a safe way or in a legal way. So the recycling committee, we set our goals for this year, and one of the things that had risen right to the top was hosting Household Hazardous Waste Day, and this was something that we heard directly from our constituents in all 3 municipalities as a result of the survey we did last fall. So we are working fast and furious. Folks have been absolutely wonderful. Jim Sullivan with the Rotary Club, came to me and said, hey, we happen to be sitting on this $5,000 that we were supposed to use for something else, but COVID hit. So I have it and I'd love to use it for this type of a purpose, but it requires a match. And then I had actually reached out to the chief, just verifying that the fire department, that no one else was doing a household hazardous waste day. And that's how we kind of decided to join forces if we could and try to get this done collectively together. Basically, as the chief said, I'm approaching all 3 municipalities. I'm asking everybody to step up and help with a little bit of funding and some volunteers. And we'd also would love to host it at the fire department. It's a great location. There's a great way to come in on Maple and exit on Blue Star. It's an excellent community, service project. And I think this is something that would go a long way with our residents. So that's it. I'll leave it at that and I'll answer any questions.
Do we have a date set for this by any chance?
Tentatively May the 1st, May Day, if we
Here
can.
in Saugus, here at the fire
Yep.
department.
That's
Okay,
what we'd like to do. Yep.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What does the funding actually go towards? Is it paying, like, I guess who's getting the money? Like,
Is
who
that
are we paying?
Aaron? Aaron,
It
my
is.
favorite question answer. Okay.
Yes.
So basically, we have to contract with a third party business, if you will. Drug and Lab Disposal out of Plainwell typically does this quite a bit. And it's who Republic Services tends to work with the majority of the time. There's a $1,500 site fee right off the get-go, and then a charge an 88 cents per pound charge. It'll add up pretty quickly if what I'm envisioning is that folks will drive up in a pickup truck full of stuff. So yeah, you pay by the pound. Terry at Drug and Lab Disposal has told me, yeah, you can count on the fact that in a 3 to 4 hour period, you'll have about $10,000 worth of items collected. So
Cool. Thank
does
you.
that answer your question, Aaron?
Yeah, I guess my next question would be, what happens if it costs more than we have grants for?
Yeah. Well, everybody seems to want to know that one. So there's a couple things that I'm trying to do on the front end. If we can really limit the time for this event, say from 9 to noon, and people have to sign up in advance. The folks that I've been leaning on to provide advice on how they've done their household hazardous waste days, Clinton County, I've got Emmett County, a couple of other folks have been real helpful. They're basically like, hey, Garn, you limit your signups to 20 cars, 20 automobiles every 15 minutes. If you can do that, you will stay well within that 10,000. The other thing we want to do is ask folks for donations as they come in. We do want, if you're delivering a screen, whether it's a TV screen or a computer monitor, that you'll pay $10, which is significantly less than what they'd pay to drop it off anywhere that will collect such items. So I think if the 3 municipalities can ante up and the fire department, the board can approve the chief's request, I think I will feel really comfortable with what we've got and what we've collected.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Arnett, I have a question, if I may.
Yeah, chief.
So how do we make sure we don't end up being permanent caretakers of the hazardous waste? We're just a drop-off center.
Right. Yep.
We
So
won't get
yeah.
anything stuck-
I'm sorry?
Stuck with anything.
No, you won't. So Drug and Lab Disposal is who we'll contract with. They will show up with their trucks and their staff. They will take everything that is brought in a person's vehicle. That's the first thing. So the second thing, proactively, through the commercial record, through a flyer that I'm hoping to get out, a mailer I'm hoping to get out, we will, and sharing the information on the Facebook page that we have, being very specific on what will not be taken, Drug and lab disposal, they'll be the only staff who will empty the cars. We won't, volunteers, fire department, just them. And they'll know pretty quick what can and cannot be taken. If there's something that's in a person's vehicle or trunk that can't be taken, they'll tell them right off the get-go, you can't leave it.
Good.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as we get to planning this, we'll have a little kind of working committee, kind of troubleshoot, if you will, and have responses and answers to those exact type of questions. What do we do if? What do we do if? So.
Thank you.
Okay, you said the name of this place is Drug and something. I
Drug
don't,
and lab disposal. Mhm.
okay, do they take old pills, old drugs? I don't see
Medical.
that on the list. Pardon?
Yep. Yeah, they'll take medical waste. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Have you, I got a question or a comment,
Mhm.
if you don't mind. I see on the list of what you will not take
Mhm.
and why. It might be helpful to, if we could let people know where those things could be brought.
Mhm.
A lot of people that ask about paint, we say, no, we don't take it, but here they're still sitting with 5 gallons of Latex paint,
Yeah,
Mhm.
their roll off, and Chef Container or Republic's gonna get it.
Yeah.
Is there a place where we can tell them where to bring it?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find it out.
yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Garnett,
Yeah.
I'm curious if you considered using Saugatuck's DPW facility as the site, given that has the identical Maple Street access and Blue Star exit. And the reason I ask is because I have sort of a mental image of however many cars, whatever it is, 20 every 15 minutes or whatever,
Mhm.
and exiting onto Blue Star in whatever fashion they're going to do that in the midst of one or more calls. And it just seemed to me that the DPW has the same physical advantages, but also in my mind, sort of a contextual or conceptual advantage as well, because it's kind of closer to their business than it is to the fire service.
Well, I might let the chief respond to that. Since he,
Well,
yeah,
it's a
I'll
fair
let the chief
question.
respond.
It's a fair question. Originally, I think the inherent problems were having a reasonable amount, a rational amount of staffing to sort of police this, where people didn't just start unloading stuff and leaving it all around. And I know Salt City experienced some of that. I don't want to speak for them, but we thought we've got staffing here on the weekends anyway. It's 24 hours a day. And on the weekends, we generally have 3 or 4 people that, you know, could kind of sort of more or less police this, but they wouldn't be handling the materials as Garnett shared. That's left up to the vendor that's been hired. But just to make sure somebody doesn't bring the contents of a bedroom into them. We've had that at the open houses. People would bring, we had one trailer we would donate. They would bring and fill up half the trailer. So it was really from an oversight perspective that I could provide oversight here at the department, but I'm not married to having it here. I actually thought if they enter off of Blue Star and exit Maple, but they're still going to exit on Blue Star, so it doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
But I just thought we generally have people around the clock where DPW at that time of the year may or may not. It was a convenience, Dan. There you go, convenience. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. I also, you know, quite honestly, the fire department serves all 3 municipalities. And I think it's just a good PR move. So great location. Everybody knows where it's at.
And it's the,
2112 doesn't T-bone somebody going out lights and siren. It's a real good idea.
Yeah, we use a message board. not like the message boards we use for some of the car washers and things like that, and use our signboard out there. Signage is going to be a big thing. And if it's regulated as far as duration and appointment, then it's not going to be a free-for-all. So that's my opinion on it.
This is maybe not the best example of it, but I always worry about mission creep for the department. And this is, forgive me, this is one morning or whatever, but you know, we're charged with, as Garnet rightly says, we're charged with. For all three jurisdictions. It's, you know, it's easy because the mission creep almost always happens for the very best of reasons. And you just don't want to get to a situation where resources are stressed or, you know, core mission, you know, fire safety, core mission, EMT and whatever is stressed, overly stressed because, you know, we're doing something else. That's why that was part of the thinking behind cutting back on the number of public, we call them community events kinds of things where we had equipment and people and whatever. And that was a good decision. And I'm not saying doing this isn't a good decision, but anytime the department's resources are stretched beyond the mission, the core mission, I think it's wise and prudent. I think very carefully and know that that's what we're doing. If that's what we do.
I think it's all good points. I think it's more manageable because we have somebody doing the hands-on unloading. We don't have to do that. And where we lost sight of recycling was when we migrated the open house to National Night Out. We consolidated those events and we did not have the ability to capture the recycling moments in downtown Saugatuck. So, you know, we were like, we had a void there in managing recycling. And I thought, well, I like more of what I heard in that somebody was handling the hands-on, and I like providing the oversight plus the whole tri-community thing. So, you know, that's how I kind of concluded, Dan, it could be in our wheelhouse, but I'm all for this. I hope you see my passion and excitement about this. I will do what the board directs me to do. And I just think this is one of those projects that I'll write the check, I'll do it. But that's me. I can't write the check.
And
And I will volunteer my time to do it for nothing.
And I completely understand and get it. And I would be, the $1,000 is not anywhere of a concern to me. But as I say, I want to pay attention. I want us to know when we're moving beyond the core. I especially worry in this area, as I'm sure Garnet knows, because I've read a lot of this stuff and watched a few of the meetings. Unfortunately, and I really mean that, recycling is a hot potato. I mean, it's a bunch of people pointing at a bunch of other people saying, I don't do that, or it's not my responsibility, or we don't take latex paint. And as a result, people are throwing latex paint in the, you know, they're throwing it in the regular trash, and it's contaminating and all the rest of it. And it's difficult to get your arms around, and, you know, and environmental hazards, you know, stuff getting spilled and all the rest of that can be a deal. I would be in a very, very different place. And I think you would be too, based on your comment. Were the fire service people involved in handling any of this stuff? or anything beyond
No.
traffic direction or what have you. I'm just happy to hear that there's a.
One thing to consider too, if I may, here's the deal. I would rather deal with this on a Saturday morning than on a bloody fire.
Of course.
I can control, I don't know what I have on these fires. I have propane exploding. I have spray paint cans exploding. I have everything imaginable. And to me, getting it out of the household, the board achieves so many layers of getting to the core of safety by a program like this that I won't say anymore. You know how I feel.
Can I
Well-
make a motion?
I have one thing I'd like to say first, Aaron.
Yes.
Over my many years of intergovernmental experience, governmental experience, is there any kind of an intergovernmental agreement where this is clearly laid out? Who pays for what, who's collecting the money, who's paying the money, that's agreed on by the three communities? I really feel it's important to draw up some kind of a contract between the three communities so this is clearly laid out. I think it's important to know who's handling the money, who's collecting it, where to pay the money. So my feeling is we need an intergovernmental agreement or at least a letter of agreement between the three communities that's signed by all three communities. Because, you know, the devil is always in the details of everything. And I hate to see details that aren't worked out beforehand.
That could be added to the motion that we wanted that.
That's something we would have our attorney do an MOU or just some kind of letter. Is that it? Is that what?
Yes, I would like to see our attorney, especially if it's going to be at our facility. I would like to see a letter of agreement or an intergovernmental agreement as to payment, cleanup, all of that. And all those details worked out beforehand.
Beforehand,
this-
meaning before when? Before the event?
Yeah,
Before?
before the event. I want to know who's going to
Yeah.
pay for it, who's
Yeah.
going to clean up after it, whose responsibility is what. Because we're working with three communities together.
Well, again, we can make the motions, including that in the motion. Because our next meeting is April. It might be too short a time to approve this.
Sure. So with that being said, would somebody like to make a motion?
Stacy had her hand up.
Oh,
Well,
Stacy,
I just wanted to say, I think the township's planning on voting about our portion this next meeting. We kind of really should be moving on this. If it's May, that's right around the corner. And I think it's a really valuable thing. And I know the fire department will do, in my opinion, the best job, and they represent all three communities. And if Chief Janik's willing to undertake this, I support that wholeheartedly.
well, I do too. I just want to make sure that the details are worked out beforehand instead of trying to work them out
Right.
after the fact.
That's,
And
Yeah.
I'm fine with voting on it today. That's fine with me.
okay.
Well, could
Should
we
we-
move forward with approving the amount and just state for the record that we also request a letter of whatever agreement to be signed by the three municipalities?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So I'll make that motion to authorize fire district staff to support the Tri-Community Recycling Program to help defray the costs associated with the collection and processing of household hazardous waste with a not to exceed amount of $1,000. We also request that a letter of agreement be written and signed by the three municipalities to outline the details of the day. Period.
second that.
Okay, if we could just add in there written by the fire department attorney, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second that after the adjustment.
So is there any more discussion? Garnet, do you find this acceptable?
Yep, I'll make it work.
All right, thank you. All right, any other discussion?
We have to vote on it.
I know,
Oh, sorry,
no, I'm waiting for the discussion.
sorry.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Miller,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes,
Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes,
and Phelps.
Yes.
Passes 7-0, ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
right.
you.
thank you.
Moving on to the I-196 reconstruction, this ought to be great, so.
yeah, tell us about this.
I am going from a high to a low. Well, I-196 southbound from 41 south will be under construction starting March 22nd. Kind of quick. There was a meeting last week with some of the city managers. We were not given ample notice. One of my personnel attended, Chris. We said, are you going to do something for public safety? Which they, of course, said yes. Next Thursday, we have a Zoom on this. There are a number of questions. We will not be able to go 41 southbound. We can't get on. That's going to change a lot of things for public safety. We're going to have to go through Blue Star through the corridor to get on. We can't cross over. So you know what it is? It's all planning. And we've got to have maps. We're going to meet with MDOT. We are going to collaborate response with Grasco Fire, Ganges, and Holland Fire. So there's some things we need to work out. We generally do not have, thanks for that, Aaron. We generally don't have enough shoulder width to get an engine down there. We went through this years ago and our calls went from about 30 to 38 calls to 84. And very challenging with trying to get people. Sometimes we were on the wrong side of the road, crossing over cement barriers. So this will be one of the more challenging things for this department to respond to quickly. Just want to let you know. There will be increased traffic on Blue Star Highway. So we'll do the best we can with this and work with MDOT to mitigate this. Aaron's got a southbound 196 will be closed in both directions of traffic sharing with no northbound side.
They're going to be closing both directions. I just hear you say? Greg, Chief?
No, both directions of traffic end up on the northbound lanes
Right.
from
Oh, got it.
more or less just south of M40 to Wiley Road.
Okay.
And then later in, I think it's June or July, they're going to close both directions of US 31 into Holland, from basically where Chef Container, Republic Garage is, all the way
Okay.
to, I think it's Central Avenue. So basically your routes into Holland will either be Blue Star or Grascup Road for much of the summer.
64th Street. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
As you
Thank you.
remember, one of our areas that's problematic is southbound 38. Oh, that'll be closed down. So that should be lifted. We shouldn't have those problems right in that area because it'll be torn up. But you know what it's like when traffic's congested and consolidated. It will be, it's going to be a challenge. Make no mistake about it. And particularly when we have to go through the Douglas corridor with at least 3 apparatus, if not 4. So we're actually going to reach out to Hamilton Fire as well to come over from M40 to try to help. because it might be a matter of Ganges might get there quicker than Saugatuck, depending upon where it is. Holland might get quicker to Lake Town than they can get there, because Lake Town, Grasco Fire Department usually comes down to 41. So there'll be a lot of challenges. Just want to share that with you.
Oh, that's
How
terrible.
long is this supposed to last?
All summer.
Well, no, I think November 8th is the date they're supposed to be done by. So,
That's all summer.
Oh, tell me.
Okay.
good luck.
Chief Greg,
Yes,
any thought of spotting a vehicle maybe on the south end of Blue Star down by Overijssel Lumber, or would that make,
staging a vehicle? Staging a vehicle, Eric?
yeah, station one there?
Yeah, I mean, you really can't do it in the wintertime. We run wet pumps. We can't have them freezing, so that was a problem. I guess the other problem is security. Unless you own a storage building down there, we can put it in, Eric. I don't know where I'd keep it.
Well, I'm just wondering about across the street from Christo's, some of those buildings.
Yeah,
Just trying to think outside the box here, Chief.
well, what I can do is, I'll ask around and see. Yeah.
A lot of the problem too, Eric, is we don't even know exactly what portions of the highway they're shutting down at what points yet, which will be evolved in the maps we're given at the meeting this coming Thursday. Even some other ideas we've had is like we can potentially access the highway from the dead end of 134th Street on this side of the highway, or possibly even from Schultz Park, if they can put up some temporary gates and allow us to just drive our pickup trucks across the construction site, obviously pending wet concrete. So I'm sure one way or another we'll be able to make it to the highway from here. That typically the biggest area of crashes is in the taper lane, which will be somewhere right around the 36-mile marker, and we'll have access to from our normal spots.
Is this project just setting up another one for the northbound side?
We did the northbound side, I think in 2014, Dan.
Not in Holland?
Oh, yeah, it went up to like, I think it's going up to mile marker 52.
But he's talking about 31.
They're doing both sides of 31 in this project all at once. They're gonna shut that entire little Y down for from June through November.
I thought US 31 was gonna be done in 2022.
I believe actually even the letter he just shared, it's supposed to be, they're gonna shut it down in July,
Okay.
or early July.
Chief,
Chris, can you send out that letter to everybody?
Sure.
Thank
This
you.
will, this definitely will have an impact on response. So we're gonna plan, we're gonna do the best we can to mitigate this. But obviously, there's only so much I can do.
Chief, I'm wondering too whether, 'cause I have visions of the 196 traffic and the summer traffic on Blue Star, which is at times nightmarish already. I'm wondering if there isn't, if you could, even the message boards might not be used sort of at both entrances to Saugatuck, basically, or that section of road on Blue Star. Saying simply, be alert for emergency vehicles or something like that, that lets people know, because if they freeze up in big traffic, the drivers freeze up, it's going to come to a standstill. And, it's a fear I've had with another project that keeps getting talked about in this area, but this is going to be a wonderful test run for that as well, because, through Douglas, it's 2-lane. I mean, there's where it comes down in the hourglass.
Yeah.
2-lane.
Yeah.
Well, where we had a big problem when northbound was rebuilt, we had serious accidents, a death that happened at the approach of where it tapered. And signage, matter of fact, it was so bad, the news contacted us. And we begged for additional signage, which we got. But there was some opinions that the signage wasn't adequate, it wasn't in the right position. I said, well, just add 2 or 3 signs on, what do we need to do? But we don't have $15,000 message boards.
Mhm.
The federal highway, it's up to them. However, we've got strong relationships with MDOT, as you know. So I think that we're gonna have a plan, but this is gonna be fluid. And like you said, Dan, if we have to add signage on the Blue Star corridor, let's get it. Let's engage MDOT. Eric, your point about having a truck stage south is tremendous. And I will look into that. That's what I mean. We need to figure out how to improve the response with this very challenging road construction and handle our tourist season. So we will, I assure you, we'll be devoting a lot of time on mitigating this.
I mean, you know it better than I do, Greg, but maybe even to Eric's point on the stage truck, maybe even Tower Marine. I mean, they've got indoor space there that's not, at least summertime use, I don't know.
And they're empty. I've got a storage unit that I could use too. It's just there's a gate and all that. So Eric got my mind clicking. Just remember, some of us have to get down south to that. But we do have people, maybe 12 people that live down south, that maybe we can get something on the highway. But the station people will be staged here. So it's just another hurdle that we'll have to overcome. But having taking smaller vehicles down south might be easier. However, you would think people would get out of the way with fire trucks with lights and sirens, bigger trucks, but
They don't.
they don't.
Idiot.
Well, there's nowhere to go in Douglas, going over that bike path thing.
And if the traffic is bad, the truck may be so far behind them that they don't even know that it's going on. You know what I'm saying? If you're around a bend or whatever and
Right.
it's lights, you don't know which way it's going. And half these people are from Chicago, and good luck with that. So,
Well, we might have to make it a practice to drive on the trail in Douglas. That's how we may have to navigate getting down there. So,
yikes.
Has there been any discussion regarding that mess?
not that I've heard of recently, Eric, no. I know they're working to refine some of it down there.
Jesus.
Okay,
Any
do
other
what you
questions
can.
I can help you with?
Is there any more discussion? All right, moving on to the next, it's UL Video. Home
Yeah.
natural versus synthetic furnishings. Yeah, this ought to be good. Okay,
What is this all about?
I'll give you a briefing right after it, Drew.
Okay.
It's short. The growth is what you're looking at. And the time. You'll notice in the synthetic room, the smoke envelope. It started out slower than the natural fire. And you'll see how it quickly turns. You're still under 3 minutes. Now you have a 3-minute mark.
Wow, big difference.
If you have grandma's old couch, don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's that black smoke is nasty stuff.
hot.
Gosh, wow.
You can see flash over in 4 minutes. That means the room just ignited. Take a look at when I grew up, things were cotton, man-made, natural materials, not man-made. This is survivable on the left side. The right side is not. You see 4 minutes, 50 seconds. We don't even get on scene for 6 minutes. The math doesn't work. This is why we talk and we are so passionate about a water supply, sprinklers, fire prevention. This is what this board is about. This is a reminder that lightweight construction is a killer, and so are synthetics. What do you do about it? Plan. So we wanted to show that to the board. This is science. This isn't drama. It's not TV. Important that you saw that. That's why we want water supplies.
Can I use that in Herman Miller marketing materials?
You can. I
Sell a
have
lot of
patent-
nice chairs.
I have a patented Aaron Miller, so I just want you to know that residual.
Just curious, like what about memory foam beds and things? Are those worse than a plain old bed?
If it's petroleum based, it's foam, and we're all dealing with that. But you used to have almost 30 minutes to get out of a home built out of legacy construction. What's legacy construction? Full dimensional 2x4s, 2x12s, roof rafters, floor joists. Now it's all laminated. It's glue and sawdust. And they burn much quicker. The floors are collapsing on us in about 6 to 7 minutes. This is the problem. And the only way to make this tenable is water. In the short time, here's another thing you should know. It is so difficult to get out the door. What you got to remember is you're most likely going to have to go to the window because the smoke is going to make the fire untenable. They're happening so fast. So this is a message for the fire board.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
you put that video in with the subpoenaed materials?
With the what?
The subpoenaed materials?
Sure. Will do.
So thank you for that. I
Thank
can't
you.
tell you how many people I say that to in a day, and they all kind of look at me like I'm out of my mind. What do you mean I don't have time to get out of my house? And it just does not sink in at all. But
Tell them to come talk to me.
yeah, I'm sure. Unless you've lived it, you don't understand it.
That's right.
So do we have any public comment?
Yes, Dimitri, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but has her hand up.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi, Demetria Terry, and I'm in Douglas, and I want to thank the board for their consideration for the support of the hazardous waste pickup. I think it's something that the immediate area was really, really very interested in being organized. And so your support is just, is the crux of, all of our efforts. So I want to thank everyone for that. And it'll be, there's be a lot of volunteers, but the company that is doing it will take responsibility for managing all those items. But anyway, I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
It's like Barry Johnson is also raising his hand,
Barry
ma'am.
Johnson.
Hey, go figure. I'd also like to thank the board for doing that. I'd really like to thank Jane for her experience saying we need the intergovernmental agreement in place because somebody's going to have to sign a contract and it's going to be left holding the bag. And an intergovernmental agreement will probably say we're all going to share it, but it's that way there's no no questions on how it's going to work. So thank you, Jane, for your astuteness, and thank you, board, for supporting this. Thank you, Greg Janik, for being a champion.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Barry. Anybody else?
Not seeing anyone, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna do fire board comments. Let's see, Drew,
No, I don't think so. I think all my questions were answered. Thank you.
Stacy,
I'm just excited about the hazardous waste event and appreciate all the hard work on getting everyone vaccinated around here. I know it's been a huge job and you are totally appreciated, and it's very worthwhile what's happening lately. So thank you, everybody involved in both of those things.
Scott,
I don't have anything.
Eric,
Thank you for everyone volunteering for the vaccination. My wife got hers and I appreciate you all. And Chris, could you look into getting Greg a new microphone? Because it sounded muffled the whole time.
Yeah, I think he's not
Yeah.
wearing his headset is the problem, but
Let's
we'll
see
work
what we
on it.
can do there.
okay, Aaron,
Thank you.
Nothing more, just echoing the thanks both for the hazardous waste and all the volunteering for vaccinations. Thank you.
Dan Fox.
Same deal. Appreciate it.
Well, myself, after volunteering for 9 hours a day, I sat every single person that got a shot at somebody's station to get a shot, and it's a lot of work. And Greg, you're right, I could barely walk to my car, but I made it. So thanks, everybody. And could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Real quick, ma'am, I'm not 100% sure, so I'll let you guys know as we find out more, but tentatively, I believe the executive orders or the state orders expire March 31st to allow for Zoom meetings, unless there are special reasons that there is a potential we'll be able to meet in person in April, provided we can maintain 6 feet of distance. So we'll see what those orders change the rest of the month, and I'll keep you guys updated.
Okay.
Because you're right. Now,
Yeah, everything's kind of up in the air, and I would imagine something else will come out from the legislature before then, but who knows? So.
okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Dan Fox, in a second, please.
Or
Eric, and could I have a roll call vote, please?
No, I was muted.
So motion by Fox, second by Beckman to adjourn at 5:12 PM. Fox?
Yes.
Beckman?
yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Phelps?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Pullen?
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Have a
Okay,
good night,
thanks,
everyone.
Everybody, have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.